This is the FM Gold channel of All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on process-centric to people-centric governance. The participants are Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Vinay Kumar, journalist.
On Wednesday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi made a clarion call to all countrymen to pay their taxes honestly. Prime Minister harped upon this theme while addressing a conclave organized by a private news channel in the capital yesterday. Tandonji, if we see Prime Minister Modi harping on this theme and he bolstered it up with all the figures at his disposal that only 1.5 crore Indians are paying taxes, only 2,200 professionals have shown taxable income of nearly 1 crore, and he wondered that so many lawyers are present in Supreme Court with higher income bracket. So this, I think, is a clarion call by the Prime Minister to the citizens that honest taxpayers should not be harassed, and he said that his government has taken steps in this direction, and for the first time, India will have a taxpayers charter. That what are the taxpayers' rights and how taxpayers can be accommodated in a more transparent manner, in a more accountable manner, by the tax department, and honest taxpayers should not suffer at the cost of those who don't pay their taxes for the nation building.
The theme of the private channel's conclave was India Action Plan 2020, and the Prime Minister used the cricketing metaphor to highlight his government's achievements. And he said his government is actually literally playing the developmental game in the 2020 mode. And then he went on to explain that in the last 8 months, his government has already scored a century in terms of fulfilling the promises made to the people. And he, in a very brief spell, literally counted 100 achievements of the government, or the legislations, or the reforms, or changing of the outdated acts, etc. And he said, we have already scored a century. He said, I continue to explain what my government has done. It may turn out to be a double century. So he started with this, that India is in a very good performance style, literally cricketing format, and said we are bound to make new records and we are in a mood to play the game of achievement. And that is how he started it. And he said, you will be glad to learn if I explain you the century which we have made. And he went on to explain all the achievements. I think we can highlight some of these achievements, particularly when he talked about the PM Kisan Yojana for the benefit of the farmers, the labor, the shopkeepers, and about the water conservation, helping the middle class, housing. He went on to explain, and also some of the historic steps like abolition of 370 and also Triple Talaq and the Ram Mandir Trust, Citizenship Amendment Act. And then he said that actually the action plan has begun now and it's going to be non-stop and we will score double century. That was in a very interesting cricketing metaphor that the Prime Minister talked about. And
he referred to this decade also, 2020 to 2030.
Yes, he said this decade itself is of action plan and his government is doing all sorts of things in that. Then he came to the New India, which now the government is actually promoting economy. Then he said, could anybody believe that India would be becoming a 3 trillion economy? He said, because nobody talked about it, so no targets were fixed.
No goals were set.
No goals were set. Now since we have set a goal of 5 trillion economy, people will be wondering that we have already become a 3 trillion economy. And in that context, he devoted quite a lot of time on the economic situation and the budget also, he said. And the budget is a step towards achieving the 5 trillion economy. Its aim is to encourage manufacturing in India so that exports are also given special state impetus. Electronic medical devices, technology cluster also are in the annual National Technological Textile Mission. He listed Make in India, and then he also talked of that 1,90,000 crore electronic items worth are being manufactured here. So he said that India is an emerging economy and Make in India is doing very well. Then he talked of the budget also, and he said that this economic activity which is now going on, is actually happening in smaller towns, tier 2, tier 3 cities, which was never earlier conceived. So therefore, the middle class is now coming up, They are participating in Startup India, and again Startup India registration is taking place in Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, and in that context, I think this issue you talked about was about the restructuring of the taxation. But before that, he, I think, spent quite a lot of time on the taxpayers' charter, as you said, but PM gave very interesting statistics. I think it is worth knowing that in the last 5 years, 1.5 crore of cars have been purchased by people of India. More than 3 crore of Indians go abroad either for tourism or for business purposes. But unfortunately, out of these 130 crore people, only 1.5 crore people pay income tax. That pathetic situation Prime Minister put before the country. He said only 3 lakh people declare their income more than 5 lakh per year. Then he gave a very interesting figure. He said we have so many big doctors, lawyers, chartered accountants and many professionals who are really on top of the world. But this is also a fact, only 2,200 professionals and others declare their annual income as 1 crore and above. So that was the actually point which he was trying to hammer about the taxation reforms. And then he appealed, as you very rightly said, and he has appealed to the people of India in the name of those who have been sacrificing their lives on the border and also doing all sorts of jobs in the larger interest of the country to please become an honest taxpayer. He went on to, in fact, appeal to the media. You can criticize my government policies. You can even criticize me. But also, please do some kind of spreading consciousness, people making aware of their duties and responsibilities, particularly in the field of personal and corporate tax. So I think the platform which the Prime Minister used today was to create an awareness about paying an honest tax and becoming an honest taxpayer. I think that was the theme of the Prime Minister's entire address.
If we look at our economy and what the Prime Minister was trying to say was through these startling figures, he wanted to drive home this point that if given the lower rate of income tax which have been proposed in this budget, 2020-21 union budget, even after this, the taxation and its scrutiny remains a problem, then Prime Minister was indicating that the government has introduced a faceless system of scrutiny. Nobody knows who is scrutinizing your income tax return, who is the officer, you may not know, and the corruption which taxation department has seen all through these years. NDA government has also done away with services of many officers in the income tax department at very senior level in the past 5-6 months. So another point, which Prime Minister drove home was that this government is not going to take a decision at a lethargic pace, where no one asks any questions, the government doesn't take any decisions, no goals are set, no targets are fixed. He said that if we continue to take decisions at such lethargic pace, then the country will not progress, and India is the world's youngest country. And he pointed out that now India has emerged as due to Make in India push given to that flagship program. India has emerged at the number 2 in mobile manufacturing units. There are just 2 units in 2014, but now India boasts of a place where most number of mobiles are manufactured in the world. It's at slot number 2. So these kind of things, the economic activity, as you pointed out rightly, is the one which is going to sustain lives of young people, young men and women. Economic activity is the one which is going to give present opportunities for jobs, employment. And he also dwelt upon infrastructure development, where the government is pumping in nearly lakhs of crores of rupees in improving infrastructure, in connectivity, in building airports, in building national highways, through which the ordinary lives will be transformed.
Yes, he was trying to explain that after all why we take and charge taxes, because the taxes is the only source for the government to put in money in the infrastructure sector and other developmental sectors also. But as you very rightly said earlier, that he was trying to reassure the taxpayers that there will be no harassment, no, is gone, no, is a thing of the past. And now government is, through the latest technology, is in fact helping and encouraging the taxpayers and that was also visible in the latest budget also. And he said that we want to make India as a tax compliant society, and in the last 4 or 5 years efforts have been made, but still it's a long way to go. And then he said that the taxpayers' money is not being wasted. It is being actually spent on all the developmental projects or social welfare projects of the country. Infrastructure, he insisted, and new airports are being built, new highways are being, metro also is being, and moreover, the poor who are being given free gas connection or even the electricity connection and the ration on subsidy, gas subsidy, petrol, diesel subsidy, scholarship, all these things could be possible because of the honest taxpayers' money. So he was in effect reassuring the taxpayers that continue to be an honest taxpayer, and people who are not actually honestly paying tax, they should also come forward and do this work. And that's why he said on this platform of the channel, he appealed to the people, and in fact he said that countrymen should take a pledge. You do buy cars, you do go abroad, but at least be honest in paying tax. And if you honestly pay tax, I think the introspection to be done by the people will help the government, and the disparity in the society between rich and the poor will also be bridged. And in that context, he invoked the sacrifice of the people who have been laying their life on the border, fighting terrorism across the border. In their name also, please become an honest taxpayer, especially in 2022, when India is going to celebrate 75 years of its independence. We have to make these 75 years achievement and realize it and convert it into reality. And he in fact thanked the media for playing a very, very important role in launching or making a great success movements like Clean India, Single-Use Plastic. The campaign which the media launched was very useful and helpful, and therefore now they should also equally launch similar campaigns as far as tax awareness is concerned. And he concluded his speech by saying that India has a pivotal role in making this 21st century, and we as citizens also have to contribute towards that. And therefore, this India's decade of startup, global leaders and industry, all these things, renewable energy, water efficient, water sufficient, we have to make India, and the aspirational India, we have to fulfill the aspiration of 130 crore people. And he said he is fully confident that India will succeed in all these missions and progress towards becoming a developed country and a leader among the community of nations. It was quite a remarkable speech. In fact, the idea of it was to make the citizen of India aware about their duties as well. Rights everybody can claim, but we should not forget our duties, and in that context particularly the taxation was the focal point of Prime Minister's address.
He also talked about big aspirations of people coming from, as you said, smaller cities like Tier 1 and Tier 2. He also said that in freedom movement, when India was getting its independence, lots and lots of people sacrificed their lives to attain freedom. But now is the time to live for the country and show that by performing your duties as citizens, you can really contribute towards nation building in a constructive and positive role. Let's hope, Mr. Tandon, that this goes a long way in instilling this kind of confidence among citizens. The reassurance, as you said, Prime Minister gave of a clean, accountable and transparent taxation system. It will go a long way in further strengthening our national economy. Thank you for the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on process-centric to people-centric governance. The participants were Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Vinay Kumar, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. This program is also available on our website, newsonair.com. You can also follow us on the News on AIR app for updates. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.